This place greets you in silence, cold winds chase the clouds, but beyond the grey you may yet find the light.
If you are planning your road trip to Scotland's Highlands and you don't know where to go and what to see, I will solve your problems.
But more importantly, I will try to immerse you in this place. Before this trip even began, I was deep in preparation mode. Hours of research. Endless scrolling through maps, Instagram reels. I searched every corner of the Scottish Highlands. Video after video on YouTube. I probably knew more about this place than some of the locals. Okay, let's move on. Some of the preparation was already done, and then I had a chat with the people who helped me plan this trip. Meet the team. The adventurer, the one who doesn't care where you go as long as you go. The creator, the one who wants to turn the trip into a film. The planner, the one who actually made it happen. All the pieces came together and I could finally say, I've got a plan. Well, kind of the plan. There is one more. The realist. He knows exactly what could go wrong, but he always shows up last. And of course he spotted the first challenge right away, and that challenge is the journey. Yes, the journey itself. Just to reach the first location we need to drive 600 plus kilometers. Obviously I needed a car. For a distance like that, renting a car seems like the only option. I started searching rental websites for a solution. But I gave up pretty quickly. You know what I mean. What the fuck? And that's when I decided to trust our old warrior.
Can I flex? Yes, yes, oh my god. Can I flex? Yes, yes, oh my god. Can I flex? Yes, yes, oh my.
If you're watching this video, the car made it there. With that many miles ahead, trusting it was a bit a gamble, but somehow it held up. Unfortunately, the road had another challenge waiting for us. The weather. It doesn't matter how many times you check the weather forecast. This place is always going to surprise, and you can't do anything about it. It's Scotland. You just have to accept it. I can't control the weather, but I can control what I bring to it. And there are a few important pieces that made this film possible. The camera, to tell the story. The lenses, to see from a different angle. The mic, to bring the story to life. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. The GoPro, for the action. The drone, for the perspective. And the rest of the essential stuff to keep everything running smoothly. Next, everything went into the boot. Clothes, bags, gear, and enough food to survive a small apocalypse. Everything was set. Oh, hold on. Before we hit the road, I nearly forgot to introduce my partner and travel companion, who will be along for the ride and maybe help with some filming. And we are finally ready to roll. Oh no, what's that? Wait! much better. That's when the real journey started. And we just kept going.
Really not close. Even in the summer, told him that it's so froze. Not talking about bass when I say I get low. I've been trying to get more, now I'm stacking my accounts. Saw going stupid, yeah, the numbers in the mouse. Heard I'm going quiet, so
After 8 hours on the road, it was time to rest, so we stopped for the night. We would continue in the morning. Good morning!
need a meal, no less, bruh. I ain't seen it yet, so I might go request you. They've been taking shots, need your best now.
And we were back on the road.
Too much going, gotta strap.
Getting there wasn't easy, but in the end it was worth every hour we spent on it. And we finally made it there. Just like that, we reached our first location. It was a very long journey, but look at this. It's amazing. Loch Lomond. This was the place we chose to begin. At first, it felt open, bright, almost weightless. From above, everything seemed calm. Then the light began to change. The sky grew heavier. At first, I didn't like the change, but the longer we stayed, the more it began to feel right. And this mood followed us for the rest of the trip. It was time to leave Loch Lomond behind and continue deeper into the Highlands. We kept driving north. The landscape began to transform. The road narrowed and the space between us and the mountains disappeared. Our next stop was Glencoe, one of the most dramatic valleys in the Scottish Highlands. That day, the low clouds made the peaks look sharper and more dramatic. Against a landscape like this, you realize how small you really are. Everything feels bigger, quieter, and you don't need to say much. We spent more time there than we planned, even though the rain caught us a few times. But we had to keep going. Not far from there we heard Waterfall nearby, so we stopped. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, just steady, constant. In a place like this, you catch yourself just standing there, watching it, and without really noticing, you feel like time slows down a little. I wanted to keep it. And then we moved on. Just a few minutes further down the road, we reached one of the most popular stops. The Three Sisters. We stood there for a while and it felt like a perfect place for lunch. And then we got back on the road. Driving through the Highlands is something special. The roads twist through the valley and every turn shows you something new. But sometimes it gets a little narrow. By the evening we finally reached Loch Ness, one of the most famous lakes in Scotland. Some people come here hoping to see the monster, but they leave with a souvenir instead. Because apart from the legend, the lake is incredibly calm. And along its shore stand the ruin of or her castle. It's been part of this landscape for centuries. Place like this feel far away from the noise of everything else, just you, the lake, and the sound of nature. And we took a moment to enjoy the view. We could have stayed longer, but the day was coming to an end, and an interesting place we had booked for the night was waiting for us. We got back in the car and headed there. For the night we decided to try something different. A small shepherd's hut in the Highlands. Shepherd's huts were originally small shelters for farmers watching over their sheep. I had never stayed in a place like this before, and apparently opening the door takes a bit of practice. Inside, everything is compact, small, simple, but surprisingly cozy. After a long day on the road, it was exactly what we needed. Good night. The next morning felt different. It was the kind of morning that makes you want to move. So we did. We were driving to our first location and we weren't planning to stop. We noticed them and we couldn't miss that. Highland cows, big, shaggy animals, originally from the Scottish Highlands. That coat isn't just for looks, it's part of what makes them so well adapted to this place. But the Highlands truly belongs to these animals. You see sheep everywhere. On the hills, along the roads, sometimes right in the middle of them. In any weather, whether it's sunshine or rain, they are always there. They are all different. But the one thing they have in common, they seem to enjoy this life. Watching them, I realize how simple things are. There was still a few places left to see that day. So we got back to the car. As you drive here, the scenery never really stays the same, it keeps changing around you. And even from the car, it's hard not to enjoy it. You come across places you weren't even looking for. So we couldn't just drive past views like this. So of course we stopped. This wasn't even part of the plan, but that's the thing about Scotland, you can't really stick to a plan. Views like this just make you stop. This turned out to be one of the calmest spots we found in the Highlands. It felt like the kind of place where you can just be with yourself and forget about everything else. It's a moment where you lose track of time and you just let it pass. But eventually we had to move on. The next location we were about to visit was something special, at least for me. But first, the road. There was a long drive ahead of us, so we got going. Out there, it's not just about getting from one place to another. The roads themselves are part of the Highlands experience. They are easy to drive and most of the best views are right there, either from the car or just a few steps away. The last place we reached that day, we had to go deeper to get there, so we left the road behind and went for it. From the very first stop, you know it's worth the effort. The views along the way are incredible, you just can't walk past them. Out here, there is a kind of relief, the noise in your head just fades away. And for a moment, nothing else matters. We kept moving, and like it does here, the weather changed. The rain came and it changed the atmosphere completely. There is something magical about this place. You've probably seen this place before. Glenfinnan Viaduct. A railway line stretching across one of the most picturesque parts of the Scottish Highlands. Up close, it feels bigger than I expected. And realizing it's been standing here for over 100 years makes it even more impressive. We spent some time just walking, watching everything around us. But we were waiting what we came here for. Trains cross a viaduct a few times a day, but one of them stands out. Feels like something out of the film, just real this time. And the last train moved out of the sign, which meant we had to go back to the car. It wasn't the easiest part. But we knew what we signed up for. Getting from one place to another here isn't exactly a short drive, so we had time for a song, or to be honest, a dozen of them. By the end of the day, we made it to our place for the night. That's enough for today. The weather forecast wasn't on our side.
You can feel the gusts now. The wind gusts are getting up to, well, beyond 70 miles per hour.
You really are advised to stay at home and try and keep yourself pretty much warm. I mean, you can actually see I am getting pushed about here quite a lot by the gusts that are coming in.
We could have just driven home, but we weren't done yet. The plan for today was the Isle of Skye, one of the wildest places we would see on this trip. First, breakfast. We stayed in a house we found on Airbnb. The hosts were very kind and made us feel at home. While we waited for breakfast, we had some company. A playful cat that kept us busy for a while. Soon after, breakfast was ready. A proper Scottish breakfast. Simple but incredibly tasty. Just one more thing. And we were ready to go. The storm was still on its way, so we had to move quickly before it hit us. But on the way to our first location, we couldn't just drive past this. It was one of the last calm moments before the weather caught up with us. We didn't have much time, so we moved on.
Okay, let's go.
We reached our first stop. Eilean Donan Castle, standing right where three lochs meet. It's exactly what I imagined Scotland to be. Originally built in the 13th century, it was destroyed and rebuilt more than once. It's a serious place. But being serious, that's not really us. We had to keep moving because we were still on the mainland and Isle of Skye was still ahead of us. Not long after we reached the island, we didn't get very far and we heard the sound of water somewhere nearby. It wasn't something we planned to stop for, but it caught our attention. A waterfall right by the side of the road. We decided to take a few photos next to it. At first everything seemed fine, until it wasn't. We continued towards our first location on the island. We arrived. The weather had already gotten worse, and it didn't look promising. One of the most visited places on Isle of Skye, known for its unique rock formations. But in the weather like this, it's hard to imagine what it might look like. So we set off to find out. The pass up was steep, but turning back wasn't really an option. We only looked back to see how far we would come. We carried on. The wind kept building, getting stronger with every step. At one point my watch showed it hitting around 19 decibels, which is probably not a great sign. And with the rain coming down, I was completely soaked. We were only halfway there. Could have been better, especially since we were already running out of energy. After over an hour of climbing, we finally reached what we would come for. And this was it. On a good day it looks like this. It wasn't our day, but anyway we made it. And everything else didn't really matter anymore. Except one thing, the way back. I guess there is only one conclusion.
Take a lot of dry and warm clothes.
We still had more to see on the island, even as the weather kept getting worse. From the very start of the day, I was disappointed by what we had to deal with, but on the way to the next location we came across the animals that live here. And it made me realize this is just part of life here. There is nothing you can do about it, you just accept it. Our next stop was a waterfall right on the edge of the cliffs.
It could have been a beautiful spot, but the wind had other plans. It turned out to be one of the shortest stops of the trip. One last place was still ahead. And by then we had already stopped chasing the views. The weather had already made that clear. From that moment on, it wasn't about what we could see anymore. We knew this wasn't going to go well. But we went anyway. Not for the views, but for the memories. On a clear day, this is what it looks like. But the reality was